What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10. Then we build them together, but today we're not doing that. Today we're taking it a slightly different direction because on Tuesday we ranked the Battlerager Barbarian, and it didn't go so well. And so we are going to swoop in and fix it this week. So if you're excited to see my take on the Battlerager and how to fix it properly, go ahead, leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see, most people who view this channel are actually not subscribed, and so it would be much appreciated if you would go ahead and press that button, and then of course click the bell so you're notified whenever I upload. I upload new videos on Tuesdays and Fridays, and those are our rankings on Tuesdays, and then our builds or our fixing videos on Fridays, and so there's always something really cool to watch. So then leave me a comment down below letting me know what you think of this subclass, of this improvement. I'm interested to see what you guys think. This was a one-person job, and so, you know, an extra set of eyes, an extra brain or two is always welcome. So let me know down below. So the path of the Battlerager, a bit of a troubled subclass, honestly. It's got the lowest ranking that we've had of any subclass so far, which is really unfortunate. But there are several reasons. One, we've got a race restriction, which there's only 2 subclasses that have ever had a race restriction. And the other one actually was corrected later in a reprint that took away that restriction. So this one just hasn't received the love that the other one has. The other one is now really, really good. And this one has just never received an update, even though it desperately needs one. So we're going to try to fix that today. Now, as far as the lore goes, I'm just going to tell you, I'm not huge into the lore kind of stuff. I can't really explain a whole lot as far as the Battle Ragers. I know they're a group of dwarven artisans and warriors, and I know that there's all kinds of backstory to them. I'm not that person to get into that because I haven't really done all that much research on them specifically. I tend to either make up the lore in my games or just read what is relevant to whatever module I'm running. So, you know, maybe that makes me a bad DM, I don't know. But anyway, I wanted to leave this one open-ended so that you don't feel like you're locked into one specific thing, because, you know, it is specific to one location in Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. But this, I want it to be open-ended. And so we are changing the name entirely so that we are technically separated from the Battlerager idea, and basically making the player character the one who is building the armor. So I didn't build the mechanic into it, but technically if you wanted to, you know, as you're going through levels 1 and 2, maybe you're gathering materials as you go and you finally figure it out at level 3 and you're able to don your armor. That could be really interesting. Or maybe you have been given it by an ancestor or whatever it is. You know, it's pretty open-ended to you as far as that goes. So we're changing the name to the Path of the Charging Rhinoceros. I know, rhinoceros, it's kind of ridiculous, but I think that the animal reference is really good because we're talking about primal paths here, and there's a lot of references to nature and animals in just the barbarian flavor in general. And I mean, look at this picture. There's a huge horn on his head. I mean, come on, that's a rhino right there, right? And so that's kind of where we got the inspiration here. And this picture, of course, is also what they're supposed to look like. It's not like hide armor with a couple of spikes on it, like what is described in the book. This is full metal, like they are fully protected in this armor, which is very, very, you know, different from what we've got. So we are changing it to match that. And let's talk about how we do that. First of all, for flavor, I gave a tool proficiency. We went with some smith's tools. That way you have the ability to work on your armor. Say something gets broken, bent, whatever, you can actually go through and fix it yourself, which I think is great. I think this leaves it open to you being able to do it and not having to take it to somebody every time something happens to your armor. This allows you to fix it yourself, which is really good. Next, heavy armor proficiency, which is something that no other barbarian gets. And so that makes this pretty unique, right? This also is going to allow you to rage while wearing heavy armor. which you normally cannot do, just because we have turned the spiked armor into heavy armor rather than it being medium armor. And so this was necessary to add on to that. And so, yeah, this makes it a lot better. And we'll talk about the spiked armor specifically here in just a second when we talk about the training. But I think that this is going to completely transform how you play the subclass, because how it was before is you had a 14 plus 2 if you had a 14 in dex. So your max is a 16. Maybe you take a feat and get it to 17. Maybe you have a shield and get it to 19. But that's the best you can do, right? Like, you'd have to get somebody to imbue it, but then you would be without your armor for so long, and then you would realize, I have a better armor class with a maxed out constitution and a +2 to my dexterity than I do with a +2 dexterity and my armor on. That's really bad, right? Like, it's really bad that you can have unarmored defense be higher than what you have in your armor, and you're required to wear that armor in order to use your features. At level 3 and at level 14, features are required that you are wearing your armor. And so, like, you're better off as far as AC not wearing it. And so that completely works against itself, right? So we have to make the AC on this a lot more appealing. So let's get into spiked armor training. We have greatly improved, in my opinion, the armor itself. And you gain the ability to use it as a weapon, which is basically the same as it was before. However, we now have 3 benefits here under this one category instead of just the one. So let's talk about the spiked armor right now. The spiked armor is now a flat AC of 18. So it is full plate armor. And that makes a lot more sense to me anyway. It makes more sense to me that you are full plate with looking at the picture that is supposed to be the inspiration for this. They are fully covered in armor. That is not hide. That is not like leather. That is full plate armor all over the place, keeping you completely covered in metal, which should be how it was in the original anyway, but you know, whatever. So our AC is going to be a flat 18, just like full plate. You still keep the stealth disadvantage. I considered taking that away and being like, you're just really good at it, but that might be a little too good. So backed off of that. And then a strength, of course, of 15 will be required. You're a barbarian. If you don't have a strength of 15, you probably built your barbarian wrong. So, you know, you need to figure that out as well. We boosted the cost. We made it a little heavier, you know, but also who keeps track of weight in D&D. But yeah, so I think that this is going to be a huge improvement. Also, if anyone tries to wear your armor that is not proficient in it, they're going to take damage because they don't have the training that you do. And so I think that's an interesting one. So it's going to discourage people from stealing your armor if your DM is trying to be a jerk. Then, you know, as soon as somebody tries to put it on and use it against you, they're going to hurt themselves until they die. So I think that's good. I think that's a good change. So what do we get with our spiked armor training? The first 2 features look an awful lot like what we had before, just with some increased damage. So pretty simple there. We can make a bonus action with our spiked attack using our armor, and it's within 5 feet of you. If it hits, we now deal 1d8 instead of 1d4. So this is a pretty good improvement in damage, right? And the reason I like this is we're trying to give a great way to weaponize our bonus action that doesn't necessarily like just give you the exact same benefits that a feat would. You want this to be unique to this. And so just it being a 1d4, any barbarian could just take Polearm Master and you get the 1d4 from the butt end of your weapon. So again, that competes. And so I don't want that. I want it to be completely unique and relevant, and you want to take this subclass. You can still use your strength modifier for attack and damage rolls with this, and it goes up to 2d8 at level 10. I really don't think that this is all that crazy. I think that it's a decent amount of damage without going nuts, and so I think it's fine. I think it's a great way to weaponize your bonus action, and cool. Let me know what you think. Hug of Death is what I have affectionately named this one. This is just a fun one. So now when you take the attack action to grapple a creature, you now do 1d8 piercing damage upon a successful grapple. And now we have extended it to every turn after this. This is one thing that made no sense to me in the book, is that it just says on your successful grapple check. It doesn't say anything about maintaining it after, right? And so it doesn't keep anything going as you go. So, you know, think about it. You're grappling somebody against your spiked armor, and they just stop taking damage after the initial grapple. You're still going to be pulling them closer and dealing more damage. If nothing else, they're still sitting on the spikes and it's still poking them really bad. So like, this is gonna hurt, right? So yeah, you've got to extend this to every consecutive turn. And so this will allow you to do more damage and make grappling a lot more viable for you, which is great. And then I don't know that any other subclass does this, but I thought that this would be relevant for this subclass. And your damage now increases based on your strength score. And so once you reach a 20 strength, you can get a 2d8 damage on this. And then 3d8 if you reach a minimum of 24. Again, we are trying to incentivize going all the way with this class. But of course, multiclassing is an option. And I'm going to talk about one interesting multiclass option that serves to kind of break this a little bit once we get far enough in. So I'll talk about that at the end. Finally, here we get spiked retribution, and this is the 14th level feature from the original. And we've moved it to level 3 because it was not that great of a capstone. And it also made no sense that you could just now do this at level 14. It made no sense to me. And so this is now getting moved. If you're wearing spiked armor and somebody goes to hit you, they're probably going to hit your spikes, right? If it's a melee attack. Why is it that just at level 14, after you are that far in, you just then can deal damage back to them with it? That makes no sense at all to me. That should be just built into the armor, and so that's what we've done. We have lowered this to a 1d6. My reasoning here is that it is the opponent making the attack, and so the opponent may not be as strong as you. And so I don't want it to be too crazy because this does not require your reaction. If it required your reaction, I might go higher with the damage, but I don't think that that's necessary. And this is how in the original ability it was presented, so I don't want to make anything worse. So I think going up to 1d6 on average, you're going to get an extra point of damage off of that for free. So, you know, if somebody hits you with more than one attack, they're going to take 1d6, 2d6, however much. So I think that that's totally fine to add to 3rd level. I think it makes way more sense than level 14. So at level 6, we now get the 10th level feature early. So originally this was you gain temporary HP equal to Constitution modifier. That's gone. That's no longer part of this subclass. Instead, I've moved the 10th level feature here to level 6, and we have vastly improved it and added to it. So first of all, we retain the option to dash as a bonus action, which I think is great and very relevant. However, you can also do one more thing now. If you use this feature to move at least 20 feet in a straight line, you can now make an attack with the armor as part of that movement. So this is, you know, you can attack with a bonus action already, and that deals your 1d8 damage, and that increases at 10th level. However, if you now make the attack after running straight for 20 feet, you now get an extra 1d8 of bludgeoning damage as well. And in addition, so all kinds of things. If you are able to kill your target by doing this, the target is then stuck to your armor and you have a shield essentially going on right there. And depending on the size of the creature, you would then get half cover or 3/4 cover. 3/4 if it is the same size as you, and half cover if they are smaller than you. You cannot do this with somebody larger than you, so keep that in mind, at least not yet, spoiler alert. So you cannot do this with a creature that is larger than you at the moment, so you want to be taking a larger creature, which again, I'll talk about a subclass here to homebrew into that serves to sort of break this a little bit, but we're going to talk about it. What could be a very, very potent pairing that I already can foresee happening. And I don't know if I want to stop it or not, but I kind of like it. So yeah, that is level 6. We can now provide ourselves with cover from people that we kill. Level 10, Rhino's Majesty. I think that this is a just great way to name this. But our armor is now considered magical for the sake of overcoming damage resistance. That was not a thing in the original, and so it was just regular damage, and by the time you're reaching level 10, it's actually kind of late to be getting something like this. You know, you've probably been facing this kind of stuff for at least 2 to 3 levels of stuff that is resistant to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, slashing. So now we're getting it. So I do think it's a little late, but I don't care. I think it's fine. I think 6 is a little early in order to be getting this, and so I think 10 is fine, but I understand that it is a little late. However, what's very exciting is now you can make your own weapons from your armor, and these are awesome. So basically just imagine Deadpool, but like the really bad Deadpool, which was still Ryan Reynolds, but the really bad Deadpool that like grew the katanas out of his arms. That's kind of what we've got here, to be honest. And so basically out of your arm guards, you can grow these giant spikes as a bonus action. This can coincide with your rage, which I think makes more than enough sense. You know, as you're getting angry, you just unleash them. So you can have 1 or 2. Now keep in mind, as this goes, you cannot use 1 in both hands and have a shield. So you can have 1 in one hand and a shield, or 1 in each. But the interesting thing here is you don't have to use your hands in order to use these. So your hands are left free because the weapon is technically above your hands. So that could lead to some shenanigans. And I'm all about some shenanigans. So basically they'll have roughly the same stats as a greatsword, at least for now, and that will go up a little bit later. But we lose the properties of them being heavy and two-handed. And so this is going to add some interesting flavor to these, right? So now you can make a regular attack. You get your extra attack by this point. And then if you wanted to make an offhand attack with your bonus action, could, and it's built in right there. So I think this is really cool. It gives you some really awesome weapons. They're not super overpowered, but I think it's really, really fun. Finally, we get Fury of the Rhino at level 14. And we now have, we've now pretty much perfected our armor. I almost called it perfected armor, but I don't want it to sound too much like the Armorer, which is something that I came so close to going a different route with this, and it would have been way too similar to the Armorer. So I decided to back off and go with this. By the way, I do have an entirely separate idea that I came up with for this that was so different that I was like, this is a whole different video subclass kind of thing. So if you would like to know that idea, it has to, I'll give you a hint, it has to do with a porcupine. So very different from this. But if you would like to know about that, let me know in the comments below if that'd be a video you'd like to see. But anyway, we get some very, very nice things to help us. First of all, our AC goes up by 1. So now we have a base 19 AC. I think that's not that bad, right? It's not the best. And if you had a maxed out dexterity and maxed out constitution, it would be higher. But who maxes out their dexterity on a barbarian? Not very many people, right? In my opinion, I don't think very many people will be maxing that out. And so I think a 19 is still pretty respectable. It's not pushing you over into the 20s where it gets absolutely insane. But I think it's good. I think it's cool. The next thing we get is improved attack. So your weapon damage from your arm guard weapons are now 2d8 instead of 2d6, which by level 14, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So I mean, you're dealing some good damage here, which you should be as a barbarian. That's the whole idea, right? You're there to just, you know, attack everything and get mind controlled. And so that's what this is here for. And finally, we get meat shield. And this allows us to use our feature, our Rhino's charge feature, on creatures one size larger than us. So I think this is great. I think it's awesome. It opens up these ideas. It is really late to be getting something like this, but I think it's a pretty decent capstone, at least for the subclass. The class and subclass that I'm a little worried about, though, with this being really cheesed, is the Rune Knight Fighter. And the reason is because at level 3 of Rune Knight, you can grow to, I believe it's large size. I don't believe you can grow to huge until later, but I believe you can grow to large size, which means you technically could then, at level 14, you not only have your action surge from level 2, but then you've got the ability to go one size larger than that. And so you're going to look ridiculous having these massive creatures stuck to the front of your armor if you kill them with that. Plus, it gives you extra damage on your turn. I think that the Rune Knight Fighter is going to be like an insane combo with this if you want to try that out. But yeah, that is basically our idea here. So I think it's really great. I think multi-classing into this would be kind of nuts because it gives you heavy armor proficiency plus rage, which no other subclass is going to give you. So I think this would be a very, very enticing subclass just to take 3 levels of. But let me know, do you think it's too good? Do you think it's too front heavy? Do you think it's too back heavy? I personally think it's a little front heavy, but I don't think it's too bad. But yeah, I'd love to know down below. So hit me up with your thoughts in the comments down below. This is definitely a simpler video, a little bit more chill than what we normally do. Normally it's a lot more structured and there's a lot more editing to do. But for this one, I wanted to just have a chill little video of just expressing what I've got on the page. And of course, down in the description below, you will have a link to be able to download this yourself if you want to try it out, tweak it, and send it back to me. Of course, Twitter and Discord are going to be your best ways of contacting me to be able to send me your ideas. So hit me up there. Links, of course, in the description. So next week, we're talking about the Path of the Beast Barbarian, which is going to be super fun. I absolutely love the Path of the Beast Barbarian. I think it's super full of flavor. I love the idea of being able to transform and use your rage that way. So it's really, really cool. So make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss that. Until then, I hope you guys have a great day, a great week and weekend. Hope you stay safe out there and stay healthy, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.